Introduction to the Night Journey of 100 Ghosts in the Ninja Realm. Under the hazy moon, the 5 shadows retreat, the tailed beast crawls, and the Holy Land is tightly closed. After the thin mist, crimson demon pupils slowly opened, and the towering demon power pushed wildly. In front of the demons, Yuzhi Bohuang slowly swept over the shattered Ninja Realm Alliance and announced softly, "This is my 100 Ghosts Night Journey. P.S. Fire Shadow, Yin Yang Master, Ping and Jing, 100 Ghosts Night Tour." Chapter 1. The Demon on the Other Side. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the 51st year of the Woodleaf Era, early summer. The afterglow of the setting sun pours freely between the buildings, and the streets engraved with fan patterns appear slightly quiet. Today is a routine gathering of the Uchiha clan. Except for the members who are left behind in the security forces, all elites above Nakano level in the clan must go to Nanga Shrine. Sister Quan, I'll go to the training ground first. At the fork in the road, a little guy in a light blue ninja slightly bowed to the girl in front of him, indicating that he respected the latter very much. You really don't want to slack off all day. Remember to go home early. Looking at the little guy in front of him who was not as tall as himself, a hint of helplessness appeared on Yuzhi Bohuang's face. In my memory, after following the 8th generation of adults for cultivation, the other party never stopped training. There was nothing that could stop him in winter, summer, rain, and snow. Got it, Sister Quan. With a simple response, Yuzhi Bohuang walked towards the direction of the training ground. Today, he has something very important to do. By the way, were you the one who beat up the monkey flying wood and monkey flying forest brothers? Standing still, Yuzhi Bohuang suddenly remembered something and asked in the direction of the little one's departure. Upon hearing the sound, Huang quickly turned around and didn't speak, but there were ripples surging under her delicate cheeks. Those two annoying guys are really not sensible. I have clearly warned them not to talk too much. Ah, it was indeed you who did it. Yuzhi Bohuang blinked his eyes and saw through the other person's silence in one glance. After confirming her guess in her heart, the girl's emotions began to enrich on her face and she continued, no wonder no matter how Teacher Funo asked them, it was her own fault for biting them to death. After all, those two guys who wanted face couldn't say anything about being beaten by a first-year student. Just, Quan Jie, I don't know them. Huang seriously negates the Tao. It's not enough for those two guys to admit it themselves, after all, they are also part of the Ape Flying clan. The surface relationship between Yuzhibo and the village still needs to be maintained by 3 generations. Quan didn't reveal it, snorted lightly and skipped the matter, then waved his hand to signal the other party to go and return early. But looking at the back of the wilderness, Yuzhi Bohuang couldn't help but mutter to himself, even though he's just a newcomer to the academy, he always hides his worries like Itachi Jun. Is it true that geniuses are like this? However, thank you, those two guys are really annoying. Wilderness is a reincarnation. Growing up in an orphanage in a previous life, he had a quiet and solitary personality. Without close friends and belonging, it seems that only domestic novels and neighboring country anime can comfort time. In an accident, in order to save the drowning child, he slept forever in the cold river. When consciousness was activated again and his pupils regained focus, he gained a new identity. Uchiha no Hiroshi. That day, the gloomy sky was drizzling with light rain, and the site was filled with black mourning clothes and white chrysanthemums. The suppressed sobs were particularly clear even in the rain. To take over those shallow memories, there are only parents who protect themselves to the death, as well as fierce beasts roaring from the sky. Anyway, I've always been alone, no problem. Just as he was suppressing the unbearable sadness, a gentle voice fell in his ear. Don't worry, everything will be okay. Looking up, there is a girl who is not much older than her, with a tear mole under her right eye. The girl is Quan Jie. She lost her father under the ravages of the 9 tails. And the desolation of 2 generations clearly shows her swollen and red eyes, as well as the tears mixed with the rain that fall. She is trying to hold on to her sadness and comfort herself later on. The helpless Yuzhi Bohuang was raised by the entire family, and even the 8th generation of Yuzhi elders became his enlightenment teachers. After all, it is rare in the official history of the Uchiha clan to start writing will eyes before the age of 3. And the Sharingan is known as one of the strongest pupil techniques, possessing the ability to peek into the inner workings of the human body, create illusions, replicate other people's ninjutsu, body techniques, and many other powerful abilities. Once awakened individuals grow up, they are invincible at the same level. Even in the realm of ninja, there is a saying that goes: if you face Uchiha who has opened the Sharingan alone, you must flee. More importantly, as a reincarnation, they possess more than just Sharingan. After arriving at the training area and carefully exploring the surroundings to confirm that there were no bystanders, he sat on the ground, with an extra blade in his hand. In front of him lay a light blue talisman paper, which was painted with obscure and difficult-to-understand characters. Kowu is a 3rd birthday gift from Uncle Ba Dai. The descendants of the Uchiha clan do not need those wooden toys as a transition. This is also the other party's original words. As for the rune paper on the ground, named Advanced Contract Rune, it is his only substantial benefit after reincarnation, which is the ability to randomly summon a large monster from Pinyin City and enter into a never-betrayal contract. In the 3 years after his rebirth, Huang never wanted to lift such a trump card. But he was worried that his power was too weak to summon the monsters, so he kept the talisman until now. However, with the strong rise of the weasel, the resources within the tribe were completely tilted, and the wild knew that they could no longer continue to be mediocre. Otherwise, the distance between them will only become further and further apart. Without further hesitation, the sharp bitterness ran through the fingers, and the bright red blood immediately fell along the blade tip, gradually fainting as it splashed onto the contract spell. The demon on the other side, following my blood, has descended into this domain and formed an eternal covenant. In the moment when the language fell, the entire sky began to become eerie, and the 4 fields suddenly fell into a deathly silence. Wild grass, ancient trees, birds and beasts, all living beings seemed to be extinguished at this moment. As the blue spell shattered into starlight, the icy cold enveloped the earth, and the stuffy summer became eerie snowfall. And a beautiful girl dressed in plain clothes slowly condensed into her figure in the dazzling starry sky. Humans. Refusing to speak for thousands of miles suddenly awakened the absent-minded wilderness, and the imprint of a 6-sided snowflake gradually disappeared under his right hand. Contract conclusion. Looking at the girl in front of him, Yuzhi Bohuang opened his mouth, but ultimately failed to reveal any words. He can clearly feel the other person's dissatisfaction and disgust, and can also vaguely perceive the other person's strength. In the field of vision, this naked and graceful monster girl with jade feet is the Lord-level demon. Snow girl from the snow plain. Time passes in silent silence. The conclusion of the contract did not bring the distance between the wilderness and this exotic monster closer, but instead became a thorn in the girl's heart, a thorn that was difficult to pull out. Perhaps only the death of the former can pull out this thorn symbolizing shame. Sorry. In a moment, Yuzhi Bohuang murmured and his somewhat dazed gaze refocused. But now I must borrow your power. His voice gradually became dominant. Ghost entanglement. Red plum under snow. This is a skill point fragment accumulated over 3 years of idle use. The first monster ability learned can be forcibly borrowed from the power of the Banki monster. Of course, if you want to truly demonstrate the power of this skill, you also need to obtain the recognition of the contract monster. At the same time, the strong energy fluctuations that erupted from the training venue immediately caught the attention of the strong members of the clan. Vigorous figures rushed towards them in the dusk, and what could be seen was that their crimson pupils were all reflected with black jade, and their crazy expressions were ferocious on many young faces. How dare you break into the autonomous region of your tribe while they are gathering? Interesting. Then feel the fear of being dominated by Uchiha. Chapter 2. Double Blood Inheritance Limit. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Silent. A spacious space with audible needles falling. Many powerful breaths converged to the extreme in an instant, except for the cramped breathing that still retained the previous brutality. Entering the eye is the snowy region. Under the feet of giant trees, stubborn weeds, crawling insects, everything is covered by the cold ice, and what can be distinguished is that the ice is sealed in an instant. Those insects and beasts even maintain a state of predation and habitat during their lifetime. As for the initiator, a series of cold and piercing pupils fell straight on the little one sitting alone in the ice and snow. I saw his eyes tightly closed, snow falling all over his body, and the bitter nothingness in his hand had already been frozen. The cold air from the forest couldn't stop invading all around. What is this? Clan leader Yuzhi Bohuang remained silent, his rough and wild eyebrows twisted into Sichuan characters. Their clan mainly focused on fire escape, with a few members skilled in lightning escape. However, at present, the 4 fields are frozen. Is this? The 8th generation elders also trembled in their hearts, their hands as strong as eagle claws trembling at this moment. The writing will eye, known as the strongest pupil technique, is gradually fading away. This is also the blood inheritance limit. They can't see through. Just as this group of Uchiha experts came to this conclusion, the little one sitting upright in the ice and snow suddenly opened his eyes, and a pair of black jade quietly froze on the crimson pupils. The wind is clamoring at this moment. Snow danced in this moment. Secret technique. The wind and the sound of a crane. The cold and chilly forest crazily deprives all possible lives around it, and the void quietly condenses ice. This unfamiliar and familiar force seems to intend to freeze the entire region. This is the power of ghost entanglement. From the power of a lord-level demon and a snow woman. Even if this is only the force it forcibly borrows, it is enough to make Xia Ran avoid it and make Zhongren face it head-on. This night was a sleepless night for both Uchiha and the senior management of Kiba. Yuzhibo appears as the double blood inheritance limiter. Wilderness. Age. 5 years old. Awakened blood inheritance boundaries. Writing will eyes, ice escape. Parents. Affected during the Nine Tails invasion. Looking at the intelligence placed on the table, the 3rd generation of Hokage puffed out a smoke ring in a daze. Stop water, ferret, now it's barren again. Why does God always give that family great love? So, what are you going to do? Rizhao. A gloomy inquiry emanated from the dark area of the room, followed by an old man leaning on a cane with a bandage wrapped around his right eye. Wait a little longer. Yuzhibo's water stop is still uncertain whether he is on our side. For a long time, a slightly helpless answer rang out inside the room. 54 years old, in spring. The soft and beautiful cherry blossoms bloom lively in the warm and chilly season. The Ninja Academy is also accepting applications from the new generation of students and conducting assessments for graduates. For this day, 6th grade students have been eagerly anticipating it for a long time. As long as they can pass the assessment, they will be able to graduate from the college and receive the title of Konoha Nishinobu and the symbol of independent ninja protection. The corridor of the entire waiting room is filled with excitement, and many other emotions. But before the exam started, the appearance of a young boy from a lower grade made these passionate senior students feel a little uncomfortable and gradually restrained their emotions. I saw the newcomer dressed in a light blue ninja suit and black shorts, with a delicate and handsome face and a normal expression, without any stage fright just because he was walking in the middle of a senior student, 3rd grade student, Yuzhi Bohuang. The base with gritted teeth squeezed out, revealing the identity of the newcomer. It's the sound of apes flying through the forest. 3 years ago, he and his brother were beaten up by each other and warned not to provoke their classmate Yuzhi Bohuang again. Due to their age and strength, they could only silently swallow this evil energy. But now, he is no longer the little brat he used to be. Not to mention, he is a 3-body skill used as a graduation assessment for ninja school. Even if he is a C.level fire escape ninja skill, he can still use it as a seal. Perhaps today is the opportunity to seek revenge. A cold color appeared at the corner of his eyes, and Monkey Flying Forest leaned sideways, trying to squeeze out of his classmates. But at this moment, a hand suddenly landed on his shoulder, pressing it down tightly. Lin angrily turned his cheeks, wanting to see who was causing trouble at such a moment, but what caught his eye was the face of his own brother. Don't cause trouble. Compared to his younger brother's recklessness, Monkey Flying Wood is relatively more stable. He lowered his voice and said, although he also had anger in his eyes, more of it was fear, as if recalling a nightmare. Brother. Lin was somewhat dissatisfied and still struggling, but ultimately could only watch the other person walk past. However, although the behavior of the Monkey Flying Forest was stopped, some senior students still stood up. Hello, Yuzhi Bohuang, what are you doing here? Today is our graduation assessment. Halfway through the teenage behavior and about to arrive at the assessment classroom, 3 graduates stood horizontally in the corridor, blocking the passage. At this point, the little guy who seemed to have no one around also restrained his attitude a bit. As the footsteps stop, the gaze shifts upwards. The first person who caught the eye was a burly or somewhat plump senior, embroidered with the character, food, on his clothes. As mentioned by the 8th-generation uncle, who had taught him ninjutsu and the power of the ninja world all year round, this was a symbol of the Aikido clan of the famous Konoha sect. He was skilled in the art of multiplication, possessed extraordinary power, and easily avoided making promises to treat them. The 2 companions beside him looked much more normal. But the obscure fluctuations in their spiritual power and sharp gazes highlighted their excellence. In the mountains and Nara. Glancing at those 2 distinct ethnic patterns, Huang felt a sense of numbers in his heart. Assessment form. Brother Ling, he wants to participate in the graduation assessment. Just as Yuzhi Bohuang raised his eyes to examine the blocked trio, a cry of surprise came in his ears. Upon hearing this, Chiu Daoling's expression slightly changed, and he naturally saw the assessment form in the opponent's hand. However, it was admitted by Huang himself and guessed by others that it was different. That's it. Yuzhi Bohuang responded calmly and took another step forward, ignoring obstacles. He doesn't want to cause trouble either. Graduation. Oh, 3rd grade students can go back and study hard for a few years with peace of mind. Senior, I will teach you well now. What is humility? What kind of shame would it be if Chiu Daoling angrily punched and graduated with Xiao Budian, who was 3 grades lower than her, after receiving the answer? Even the first clan of Kiba, Uchiha, cannot be so arrogant. The present is not a time of war. Moreover, having a stunning genius like Uchiha Itachi in that family is enough. If another one appears, what should other families do? Chiu Daoling's fist was not particularly fast, but it carried the power of an adult, and even the surrounding air showed signs of being shaken and groaning. With Ling's punches, the surroundings suddenly became noisy. Some advised not to argue with their junior, while others clamored to do a good job and show that kid some color. After all, although Yuzhi Bohuang has some voices in the college, it is just a small joke belonging to the lower grades, which is very different from the group of graduates who are about to be promoted to become ninjas and carry out tasks in the village. And such a gap is difficult to erase no matter what. Just when most senior students anticipated that Huang would choose to escape and consciously give up the idea of graduating early, an accident occurred. Faced with the kind-hearted Chudao clan, this little guy, who was 3 grades lower, showed no signs of avoidance, or more precisely, he changed his mind to avoid causing trouble temporarily. Trigger instant task. Dominating Phase 1. Chapter 3. Dominance Phase 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hey, quickly dodge. There are kind reminders echoing in the corridor. If it really solidly gets punched by the Autumn Road clan, dislocations, fractures, and lying in the hospital for 10.5 days are all considered minor injuries. However, a scene that startled the onlookers appeared, and in their view, the little guy who was 3 grades lower than them did not retreat but instead advanced, clenched his fist, and bravely welcomed him, as if he was about to confront them head-on. Oh my goodness! Which teacher taught the exported students? Didn't you see that big word for food? I don't know if that's the ethnic pattern symbolizing the Autumn Dao clan. Do you really think that being young will result in special treatment? It's ridiculous. The corners of Ape Flying Forest's mouth showed a disdainful grin. Qiu Daoling, that brute who only knows how to use his strength, but doesn't even want to confront him, is this foolish kid deluding to fight him? Self-inflicted humiliation. Of course, there were also several young boys and girls in dark blue ninja suits present who did not show any surprised expressions. Instead, there was a hint of mockery and pity in their proud eyes. Ignorant guy, it's an extremely unwise choice to underestimate Uchiha and that kid. You should know that the wilderness is known as the second existence of the weasel by all 8 generations of adults. Taste despair well. Just like they used to be. Compared to the confidence of other peers, Yuzhi Bohuang couldn't help but clench his hands. Although she also believes that Huang can fight beyond her level and even possess invincible strength in the academy. But after all, it's only 1.1, and the 3 people currently blocking the way are this year's Pig Deer Butterfly, with a private relationship comparable to that of siblings of the same clan. If Qiu Daoling is at a disadvantage, then Ri Yamanaka and Naramori will definitely not stand idly by. Although the Riding Will Eye is strong, it may not necessarily have an advantage when facing 3 senior students who have excellent strength and are extremely cooperative. In the girls' thoughts, their fists also clashed. Ling has not put in any effort, and now he is cruel and strict towards his younger brother, which is also his responsibility. After all, the senior members of the clan have warned that although the era they are in may seem calm, it is still full of undercurrents. The wilderness has not retreated at all, with a calm expression like water. The large figure in front of him is like a training stake in his daily life, providing no deterrence. Cluck clack. The crisp bone chant echoed in the corridor, causing everyone's heartbeat to slow down. After all, whose power is better? The answer will be revealed soon. Ah! After hearing a mournful scream, Qiu Daoling, who was as strong as a bear, half knelt in the corridor. At this moment, his facial features were all twisted together, his round face flushed, his right arm drooped, and his left hand trembled as he wanted to touch the injured arm, but was afraid of causing secondary injury. The Autumn Path clan, who are good at power, surprisingly fell behind on the path of power. This result is simply beyond the expectations of these senior students. That's Qiu Daoling. In daily sparring and competitions with them, they have suffered losses in strength. On the other hand, Yuzhi Bohuang still appeared calm and composed, standing upright like a tall pine tree after finishing his fist. It's not an exaggeration to say that he could strike with a single hand, especially with extra strength. The impact is too strong in comparison. Ling. Huang, you're going too far. A sharp shout suppressed the noise around. After seeing his friend injured, Narisen took the lead and, with 10 fingers touching each other, a black shadow rushed out from under his feet. At such a close distance, like a narrow corridor, the little guy in front of him had no escape. Not only the forest, but also the mountain calendar, although slowed down by a beat, also closed in an instant. Just let them bear the blame for bullying their younger classmates together, and this is also a whip from the seniors. Wilderness, be careful. Yuzhi Bohuang could no longer suppress the restlessness in his heart. His calm eyes were filled with waves, and a pair of seductive jade quietly appeared in his pupils. I really want 3-1. That's too much. However, Before she could even push her classmates in front of her to join the battle circle, the little guy standing at the center of the storm moved again, more precisely, his pupils moved. Without even looking at the shadow that was about to touch him, Huang stared straight at Li in the mountains, his bright red pupils emitting a pair of invisible deterrents on the single-hook jade. He doesn't want others to invade his sea of consciousness and turn it into a marionette. Magic. The art of hanging in chains. The surging pupils burst forth in an instant. Damn it. At the moment of seeing the crimson pupils, Yamanaka wanted to close his eyes. No one would want to look directly at the Sharingan, even if his spiritual strength far exceeds that of his peers. But it's still too late. He could never have imagined that even though it was Mori's first move, that roar was also his usual trick to attract the opponent's attention, but the little guy in front of him was stunned and chose to attack him first. However, it's also okay. There are 3 people on our side, and the method of defeating the Sharingan has long been mastered in the competition with the same period. Although his thoughts were like this, when the wedges were nailed to his spiritual body, Shan Zhongli couldn't help but burst out with a more mournful roar than Ling's. You should know that Uchiha's illusions are a dual torment of both physical and mental beings. At this moment, Naramori's shadow imitation technique had also reached the feet of the wilderness, but at that tiny distance, he suddenly stopped manipulating ninjutsu. It's not because I've also been enchanted. But because a sharp edge of ice quietly condensed into his pupils, Yu reading www.yuyukangshu.net just needed to gently push the wave, and his right pupil was gone. Looking back along the edge of the ice, the little one they looked down upon lifted his right arm and pointed his fingers straight towards him. Obviously, he is the initiator of this ice escape ninjutsu. Are you distracted by one enemy or two? How could it be possible? Does using ninjutsu not require imprinting? Countless questions roared in Naramori's sea of consciousness, and his spine unknowingly oozed cold sweat, snuggling against his clothes. The ice edge that dissipated the cold air from the forest was about to blind his pupils before it could be touched. Double blood inheritance limit. Is this the double blood inheritance limit? Sen's heart was trembling, his pupils were tightening, and his memories were going back to 3 years ago. At that time, the clan elders had warned the younger generation, Yuzhi has a genius who has mastered the second type of bloodline inheritance limit, named Huang. Don't provoke anything. But as a young and reckless person, he only felt that he could defeat all enemies with the shackles of a pig, deer, or butterfly, and did not care. Unexpectedly, on the day of graduation, I truly tasted the powerlessness of being crushed. Not only the 3 little ones of the pig-deer-butterfly family, but also the surrounding senior students were all silent like cicadas. From the attack of Autumn Dowling, to the screams of Mountain Li and Naramori's abandonment of resistance, all of these were just a fleeting moment of lightning. But it was this moment that was enough to leave the name of the wilderness in their hearts, just like the Itachi who applied for graduation in the same year. Even more direct than the shock left by that person. Not far away, the ferocious smile of the monkey-flying forest froze on his cheeks, and the teasing in his pupils was gradually suppressed by the surging fear. If it were oneself, how long could it last? He doesn't know. Chapter 4. Early Graduation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What's wrong? A panicked inquiry suddenly descended, and 3 ninjas dressed in green vests appeared in the center of the corridor. After distinguishing the current situation, one of them decisively widened the distance between Naramori and Ice Cone, while the other landed a knife on Yamanaka Ri's neck, interrupting his pain from the continued invasion of hallucinations. As for Akado Ling, no one paid attention, and a small injury like dislocation was not a problem for the ninjas. Yuzhi Bohuang, this is a ninja school. Private fights are not allowed without permission, don't you know? Looking at the embarrassing scene in front of him, the man in charge immediately roared and aimed his spear directly at the 3rd-grade student who was thinking about something. His anger filled the entire corridor. Kano Daihei, at the Nakano level, has been a teacher at the Kiba Academy for many years and has been the mentor of many young ninjas. He has taught Uchiha Itachi. Of course, it's no wonder it's like this, because the only one standing at the scene as if nothing had happened was Yuzhi Bohuang. Regarding this, Huang did not immediately answer, but the captivating Sharingan gradually faded away. At this moment, he was as quiet as an obedient baby. However, this is not because he is really obedient and sensible, but because he is not good at dealing with strangers outside the family such as Quan Jie, Ba Dai Shu, and Jing Po. Moreover, it is also a fact to engage in unauthorized fights in violation of school regulations. Teacher Funo, it was Qiu Daoling and his team who first provoked the famine. During the stalemate, Yuzhi Bohuang pushed aside his classmates who were blocking him and explained to the angry middle-aged uncle. Upon hearing this, Li, who could barely wake up and had a pale face, wished he could immediately faint again. How shameful is it that 3 senior students with good abilities were easily knocked down by their junior students who were 3 years younger than them in one person. Although there were also factors that led them to underestimate the enemy, their respective secret techniques were not immediately applied, and their usual cooperation was not carried out. However, the mountain calendar has an inexplicable intuition that even if they use their respective secrets, they may not necessarily win. Kano Daihei immediately glanced at the disheveled Akato Ling and 2 other participants with drooping cheeks and no defense, and the shock of understanding the truth surged at this moment. He heard his 3rd grade teacher mention the name of Huang, and even the name Itachi II was circulated in the college. But I have taught Uchiha Itachi before, knowing what kind of talent the other person has, and hearing such news only gave me a slight smile, just as a joke to adjust my life. But the current situation is all stimulating his nerves. Before they reacted, they suppressed the 3 little ones of the pig-deer-butterfly family, which is not something that anyone can do. Huang, as a junior student, what are you doing here? After his expression changed, Ono Ohira chose to skip the topic. After all, this matter involved too many families and was no longer something he could handle alone. Chief Fuyue, let me participate in the graduation assessment. With the help of Yuzhi Bohuang, Huang's mood also calmed down a bit, and he handed over the assessment form in his hand and a letter from the clan leader. This matter did not go through the hands of Hokage. Because the Uchiha clan has autonomy. Did you graduate early again? Staring at the little guy in front of him, the corners of Kano's dark eyes couldn't help but twitch slightly. Come on in. After roughly reading Ziyu Jibwa's letter, he took the lead in walking towards the assessment classroom. The graduation assessment of the Ninja Academy is based on 3 body skills, but for Araki, E.level ninjutsu is simply effortless. When dozens of indistinguishable clones were lined up in the assessment classroom, Ohira Kono was completely conquered. Such efficient utilization of chakras and chakra heritage can make some Chinese people sweat. Uchiha Itachi is the second. Huang really deserves this title. Passed the assessment. But are you really not planning to continue studying? Ninja Academy teaches not only ninjutsu, but also many other knowledge such as tracking and medical techniques. At the same time as announcing the assessment results, Ohira Funo still couldn't restrain his restlessness and spoke up to persuade him to stay. Even if there is a letter from the head of the Uchiha clan, if the student is still willing to stay and study, he can still ask the 3rd-generation leader to intercede. After all, this is an era of peace, and talents like Huang do not need to go out early to carry out tasks. They need to constantly strengthen themselves, and the best path is to graduate after accumulating experience to a certain extent. Thank you for your concern, teacher. However, the clan has already made other arrangements for me. Yuzhi Bohuang politely refused. It is natural for them to hear the other person's implied meaning and sincere concern. No one in the realm of ninja knows the surface and underground currents better than a reincarnation. Even a genius who falls inexplicably every year is unknown, and even a presence like Yitsong will be betrayed by interests. Therefore, the sleazy and meticulous development is the way. But time waits for no one. The night of extermination is a tragedy that cannot be avoided. He can only protect the people around him by accelerating his growth rate. Yu reading www.yuyukeangshu.net. I understand now. Since it is a requirement within the clan, congratulations to you, Yuzhi Bohuang. Congratulations on your successful graduation. From now on, you will be a unique Konoha ninja. I hope you inherit and work hard to carry forward the will of fire. Kano Daihei stood up, holding a brand new wooden leaf protector in his hand and handed it to the little guy. After a moment of hesitation, Huang took over the forehead guard and slightly bowed. Thank you, teacher. But the will of fire, forget it. I'm different from that person. Ninja protection. Araki really graduated through the assessment. When this handsome and quiet third-grade student reappeared in the corridor, the entire space boiled again. Although these senior students had already guessed the outcome when the three little ones of Zhu Lu Dai were pushed horizontally. However, when the other person came out of the classroom clutching their forehead, various emotions such as amazement, admiration, and unwillingness surged up like a tide. Wilderness. Next time, I will never lose to you again, and I will definitely be promoted to Zhongren earlier than you. Autumn Dowling, who had dealt with her injuries in a simple way, shouted a low declaration of war at the staircase. Just now, he did not exert all his strength, nor did he use the family's doubling technique. He was defeated along the way in power, and he was really unwilling. If it were a real life and death battle, I would never lose. However, Ling, who felt deeply humiliated, did not see the fearful expressions of his two companions around him. Yuzhi Bohuang only snorted lightly when he was in the wrong position. Because his goal has always been one, wielding the white-eyed wolf Yukibo Itachi who betrayed his family. Chapter 5. Ghost Map and Yin-Yang Record. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Leaving the wilderness of the college, he did not directly return to his ancestral home. Instead, he leaned quietly under the cherry blossom tree at the entrance of the school and waited quietly. This should be the last time he returned home from school with Sister Quan. Task Panel. The boy with slightly drooping eyes murmured, in fact, if it weren't for the sudden appearance of the instant task just now, he wouldn't have wanted to excessively expose his strength in front of outsiders. Yulua, a light blue transparent panel appears out of thin air, with 4 folded sections. Daily, real-time, stage, and summoning. Daily, endless wielding of the blade, unable to accumulate, cleared daily, task description. Each swing of the knife is aimed at reducing bleeding during actual combat. Achieving condition. Swung the knife 10,000 times. 1,000/10,000 times, task reward. Low-level Constitution Pill *1 task status. Incomplete 1000-day reward achieved. Intermediate Constitution Pill *1, 784/1000 days. Endless running, unable to accumulate, cleared daily, task description. Faster, faster. I wouldn't just watch my companion die and be powerless. Achieving conditions. Running with a load of 10 kilometers and 10 kilograms, 10/10 kilometers, task reward. Low speed pill *1 task status. Completed achievement 1000-day reward. Intermediate speed pill *1, 995/1000 days. Endless patience, unable to accumulate, cleared daily, task description. Continuously exploit one's own potential to avoid the situation of chakra vacancies in combat. Achieving condition. Use ninjutsu at level C or above 20 times, 2/20 times, task reward. Low-level chakra pills *1 task status. Incomplete 1000-day reward achieved. Intermediate chakra pill *1, 642/1000 days. Endless meditation, unable to accumulate, daily reset, task description. Mood, the fundamental to facing enemies. Achieving condition. Meditate without distractions for 5 hours, 0/5 hours, task reward. Skill point fragments *1 task status. Incomplete achieve 10,000 day reward. Skill points *3, 1426/10,000 days, PS, 100 skill point fragments can be used to synthesize one universal skill point. Endless wielding of the sword in hand. Unable to accumulate, reset daily, task description. Instant, dominance phase 1. Horizontal promotion of pig deer butterfly, task description. Among 6th grade students, Akataka Ryu, Yamanaka Ri, and Naramori are the elites of this ninja school, using them to prove their strength. Achieving condition. Defeat 3 people head-on. Task reward. 1 low-level contract spell, 1 skill point task status. Completed PS. A low-level contract spell that can randomly summon any monster at or below the level of a monster and enter into a never betray contract with it. Stage, rising to prominence, promoted to the next level of endurance task description. Continuously promoting and gaining more resources and opportunities for experience is the fastest way to grow. Achieving conditions. Pass the tolerance assessment of any force in the 5 major tolerance villages. Task reward. 1 low-level contract spell, 1 skill point task status. Completed summoning fearless armor. Terracotta Warriors monster description. Originally a soldier figurine buried in the tomb, he ultimately chose to leave his deceased owner and search for other people who should be protected. Level. Shanai Jiguai spiritual materials. Blood-stained armor *1, blood-stained blade *1, low-level summoning spell *1 I will always guard you until death. Buddha's front girl. Counting beads monster description. A spirit transformed from a number of beads, a monster girl residing in a temple, who has developed a certain Buddha-like nature by listening to monks chanting scriptures for a long time. She is innocent and lovely. Level. Shanai Jiguai spiritual materials. 1 prayer bead opened by a high monk, 1 low-level summoning talisman does Buddha-like sweet things or sour things. Peeping heart demon. 100-eyed ghost monster description. A mysterious girl from the land of encountering demons, who has had an unspeakable transaction with a powerful monster. She has an extraordinary obsession with beautiful eyes and will use any means to take them for herself. She is also able to read the memories of those whose eyes have been taken away. Level. 1 domain lord spiritual material. A pair of eyes with special pupil techniques, intermediate summoning talisman *1, Na, what secret is hidden in your eyes, Jia, obtaining basic rewards from daily tasks is the capital for him to rise from the micro end, surpassing his peers and even surpassing level challenges. As for spells, monsters, and skill points, they are his biggest trumps, but this card is still too weak to even open. At present, the spells obtained by Huang can be divided into 2 categories. Summoning spells and contract spells, and are classified into 3 levels based on the yin and yang magic power contained therein. High, medium, and low. Both are random summoning, with the difference being that the summoning spell randomly summons a monster that does not exceed the level of the spell based on the power contained in the spell, and borrows the opponent's power once. If you want to enter into a contract, you need to obtain the other party's approval. Well, of course, it's not ruled out that after borrowing power, the summoned monsters may be eaten as rewards. Secondly, by triggering summoning missions and matching spiritual materials, designated monsters can be summoned. The contract spell is a direct contract, and the summoned monsters will be bound by the contract and never betray unless the summoner dies. But there is also a constraint, and in order to receive the wholehearted support of monsters, it is natural to also need their approval. In addition to the gains from this promotion of ninja and instant missions, there are a total of 12 talismans in Huang's hand. 5 contracts and 7 summoning, all of which are inferior. The monsters that can be summoned all come from a picture in the Sea of Consciousness called the 100 Ghosts Night Traveling Picture. They are the great monsters in the peaceful capital, possessing different powers, personalities, and hiding different stories. It is not so easy to truly rely on power and command them. Moved by their thoughts, the scroll of the 100 ghosts slowly unfolded, revealing unknown contours that were either ferocious, strange, peaceful, or stunning. Although their appearance was unclear, one thing was similar. They all looked towards the forefront of the team, as if their leader was standing there. According to individual strength, monsters can be roughly divided into 6 levels. Ordinary little monsters, mountain and wild monsters, terrifying nightmares, domain lords, mythological legends, and masters of ghosts. The wild gaze casually swept over the middle and front sections of the 100 Ghosts Night Tour, and among the many hazy contours, there stood a plain-clad girl standing tall and graceful. This is his first and currently the only deity, Snow Maiden. However, up to now, he doesn't even know the other party's real name and can only rely on ghost entanglement to forcibly borrow power. When it comes to ghost entanglement, we have to mention another object in the Sea of Consciousness. The Yin-Yang Record. If the 100 Ghosts Night Journey map is a scroll that includes all the monsters, then the latter is a classic that records all the Yin and Yang techniques and monster abilities in the world. Moreover, in order to learn powerful skills from it, the difficulty of reading www.yuyukeungshu.net is not lower than that of the legendary monsters at the level of the Covenant. In the past 5 years, he has only gained 2 abilities from it. Ghost Entanglement, and Clear Mirror Water Stopping. The former can borrow the power of monsters that have contracted with it, and this is how the so-called Ice Escape Blood Inheritance limit came about. The latter is the momentum, releasing one's own breath to the extreme, causing weaker enemies to feel fear from the bottom of their hearts and subconsciously want to ignore the existence of this danger source. However, with the newly acquired skill points, he was finally able to learn the coveted 3rd skill. After opening the Yin-Yang record with ease, Huang chose a young monster with the character, Fear, in the background. Nuliang Lusheng, the 3rd generation of the Nuliang group. The master of demons and monsters who govern the 100 ghosts in the Kanto region, both ghost entanglement and mirror water stopping belong to his abilities. This time, I chose Mirror Flower and Water Moon. Mirror Flower Water Moon. The unique ability of the great monster Slippery Ghost, with a body shaped like a flower in a mirror or a moon in the water, rubbing shoulders with people, leaving only virtual shadows, and its true position is difficult to grasp. When the phantom is shattered, it transforms into a demon's fear attack, enhancing its strength and speed in a short period of time. 5 high skill points, squeeze out all the accumulated skill points. However, it's worth it, and the abilities of the Slippery Ghost are definitely the most suitable for a ninja who mainly focuses on assassination. Next, you can let go and learn the abilities of other monsters and Yin and Yang masters. When you look at the character standing on the Yin and Yang record, your mind feels like a wilderness, and your eyes can't help but become a little more passionate. Saimai, Shinraku, Sashimaru, Hizaki Ichigo. The murmuring self-talk was revealed from his mouth. Chapter 6. Not even one word is enough. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Oh, what are you thinking? The familiar voice detached Uchiha from his contemplation. Looking up, it was Quan Jie's gentle and lovely cheeks. At this moment, she was playing with the well-worn wooden leaf protector on her forehead, her eyes filled with joy. How about it, isn't it really cool? Quan proudly nodded his forehead and spoke happily. Well, let's go home. He responded with a straight posture, unable to fully appreciate the girl's joyful mood. No way. The perfunctory Yuzhi Bohuang frowned slightly, and her slender arms instantly crossed into a fork shape. As a smooth graduation day, it is necessary to celebrate today, so let's pause the training for a while. Otherwise, The girl shook her fist, her nose slightly furrowed, and pretended to be very fierce. I know how to practice every day, and I don't have any other hobbies or friends at the same time. Yuzhi Bohuang is really worried about whether this little guy in front of me will break down in the future. But what does Huang want to defend? After all, compared to this meaningless celebration, he is more willing to play the blade again on the training ground, and he also has an important matter to discuss with Uncle Ba Dai. Didn't you listen to my sister's words anymore? Yuzhi Bohuang directly cut off the reason the other party wanted to say, and Qianqian Yuzhi lightly tapped across the empty forehead. Today at noon, your time belongs to me. Refutation is not allowed. Understood. This is the ultimatum. Otherwise, she would have to use her Sharingan to change her will. Got it. Looking at the girl who was nearsighted, Yuzhi Bohuang slightly weighed and chose to compromise. Because he wants to apply to enter the dark side next, to monitor the actions of Itachi and the high-ranking officials of Kiba, and prepare for the night of extermination. If this matter can truly be promised by the elders of the clan, then there won't be too much time for oneself in the future. Humph, that's pretty good. What do you want for lunch? Let's go, sister treat you. Quan naturally did not know the other party's thoughts, and only assumed that his own deterrence had played a role, with a smile covering his cheeks again. I can do anything. The plain language remained indifferent to everything. This answer is incorrect. Upon hearing the answer, Yuzhi Bohuang was very angry, with a look of hatred that iron could not turn into steel. How could anyone be so perfunctory to a girl? How can I find siblings for myself in the future? As she spoke, she skillfully reached out and played with the boy's cheeks. It's impolite to talk to girls with a smile and a gentle tone. It's impolite to just brush things off. Try to use fewer words like this. Do you understand? Looking at the smile squeezed out by himself on Huang's face, Yuzhi Bohuang clapped his hands with satisfaction. Although she is a young and powerful young lady with clear eyebrows and eyes, her behavior every day is not good, and it hurts the girl's heart. The little one being lectured instinctively responds. A wicked gleam flickered in the pupils of Uchiha Izumi, who heard the answer. What did you just say? Okay. The famine quickly changed its mouth. Not even good, not even a single word. Shuanggoyu gradually appeared in the pupils of Yuzhi Bohuang's eyes, seeming to be a convenient means of directly tampering with willpower. The main urban area of Mai is bustling, with merchants from various countries and regions flocking one after another. The sound of selling can be heard from the streets to the alleys, and they all want to make a bucket of money in this most powerful ninja village. Fortunately, the spring is very restrained. Even though she is very interested in the hair clips, pink and daisy clothes at the booth, she still cares about her desolate mood. What was agreed upon was just for dinner, so it could only be, what gift does Sister Quan want? At this moment, the girl's ears were filled with a cold inquiry, and upon reflection, Huang had already stood by the jewelry stall and looked carefully. Yuzhibo is not short of money. This tribe is not as cliché as Hinata, with no clear talk of family or division. Anyone who awakens and rights the wheel will receive a tilt in resources. And money, in Uchiha, where strength is paramount, is only the least valuable resource. As a dual-blooded successor to the limited realm, the resources that Yuzhi Bohuang can obtain are not to mention that among the younger generation, perhaps only Itachi, the son of the clan leader, can be compared to them. How about this one? After scanning around, Huang Jingjing picked up a 4-leaf clover-style hair clip, simple and ordinary. The reason for choosing it is as simple as its style. 4-leaf clover symbolizes luck. However, Quan regarded this ordinary hair clip as a treasure and eagerly pinned it to his hair as he took it. Does it look good? She gently played with her hair in front of the mirror on the stall, her beautiful eyes almost curved into crescents. This is the first gift he received. It looks good. This time, I learned to be obedient, and while affirming it, I added another sentence. Not bad, there's progress, keep it up. Turning around, Yuzhi Bohuang reached out his palm and instinctively wanted to pat Huang's shoulder as usual to show encouragement. However, he suddenly realized that the little guy who was once not as tall as him had quietly surpassed him in less than 2 years, and even graduated from ninja school for 3 consecutive years. Wilderness, I've grown up. Inexplicable satisfaction spread in the girl's heart. Let's go, Yu read book www.yuyukeungshu.net. Sister, please go eat barbecue. For the sake of the gift, she gave up her plan to preach the 3 colored meatballs and began to compress her available private money. However, at this moment, the wilderness was attracted by another small figure and did not respond to Sister Quan's proposal. That guy, it seems like, the village says he is the incarnation of the 9-tailed demon fox. Following Huang's gaze, Yuzhi Bohuang also saw the little one that looked like a street mouse, accompanied by the sound of driving and slandering. No wonder people treat him like this. After all, the natural disaster 5 years ago left indelible scars on many residents of Kiba. Both myself and the wilderness are included. No. I'm not a fox, I'm not a 9-tailed fox. I am Naruto Vortex. Xiao tightly covered her ears, vigorously defending herself, fighting against the clearly defined haters with her own strength. However, such an excuse is completely useless, and those hateful gazes never melt away. Let's go, Sister Quan. I don't want to continue watching. The tragedy of Naruto shares similarities with the current situation of Uchiha, and with its current strength and status, it is simply powerless to change anything. All we can do is not to impose. Quan didn't say much, but glanced at the little creature that was about to be submerged in rumors, and then walked along with the wilderness to another street. The awkward situation of Yuzhibo in the village constrained them not to meddle in their affairs. People who can graduate from ninja school smoothly should understand this point. Kamui Commercial District, after all, is only a little too big. Chapter 7. Naruto Vortex. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Looking at the little bird standing in front of Yao Lami and Noodles, Huang felt that if he chose to ignore it again, he would be a little wrong. Sister Quan, why don't you try this Lami and Noodles? He stopped to propose. There is not much emphasis on food scarcity, and at a young age, in order to quickly recover chakra during training, he used to take military food pills. That kind of pill that only focuses on the recovery effect, but places the taste at the very end. Okay. Yuzhi Bohuang also saw through the young man's thoughts and did not refuse. Because the small creature in front of me, known as the 9 Tails, is just like a wilderness, both orphaned. Just before they could get closer, Naruto Vortex immediately showed a guarded posture, and the previously yearning gaze instantly became extremely cold. God knows how he has been ostracized in these not short years. Clearly, I and Quan Jia are also considered peers. Do you want to eat together? Wilderness can really be considered social waste. He ignored Xiao Jiuwei's hostile expression and got to the point. Haha. Upon hearing this, Naruto Vortex did not answer. Instead, he gave an unusually disdainful chuckle and moved his body back slightly. He will never be fooled again by such a naive trap. Moreover, he knows the fan-shaped ethnic pattern. Those guys who patrol all day may not mock themselves like ordinary people, but their eyes towards themselves are no different from those of others. We have no malicious intent. Yuzhi Bohuang inexplicably tugged at the young man beside him, looking icy and cold all day long. It was strange to be able to win the other person's trust. However, Naruto Vortex still showed resistance to the invitation from this beautiful sister and intended to turn around and run away. In this world, the only person who truly treats oneself well is the old man with white hair. Everyone else is the same. Watching Xiao's movements, Quan immediately wanted to say something more, but Huang's movements were even faster than hers. Boss, 3 bowls of pork bone barbecued noodles. Compared to pale words, action is the best proof. Moreover, he has no obligation with Quan, nor can he deliberately contact Jiuwei. Except for the hinterland of various ethnic groups, the entire village of Muyin is being monitored by the shadows and roots. Allowing Uchiha, who possesses the Sharingan eye, to come into contact with little Nine Tails is like touching the scales of the upper level of Kiba. Okay. The hand-slapping uncle in the Lamian noodles stand answered immediately. He was also very concerned about the little blonde hair in his sight, but when he called each other to eat a bowl of Lamian noodles, the little guy always ran away. It's rare to have kind-hearted people now. After glancing at the two little guys of Yuzhi again, he turned around and started to get busy. People from this tribe rarely come to his noodle stall. Go ahead first, Sister Quan. After speaking, Huang took the lead in walking towards the noodle stall. As soon as possible, the aroma of the soup spread out without saying a word. No wonder little Nine Tails always stopped here. This kind of smell is fatal for children. Looking at the desolate behavior, Quan's eyes also had a bit of complex colors. She seemed to underestimate this younger brother of the same clan. Although her attitude towards people and things was very lacking, she always seemed to be able to see the crux of the problem. The wilderness is becoming more and more like a weasel. But is this really good? Looking at the back of the wilderness, Quan seemed to see the figure of a weasel, but after a brief overlap, the two immediately separated. Same, yet different. Well, I'm my sister. I can't control the weasel, can't I control you? The girl clenched her little fist and a smile reappeared on her face. Even though the two unfamiliar brothers and sisters repeatedly released goodwill, Naruto Vortex still did not keep up. Yao Lamian noodles, he really wants to eat. Although I have only tasted it once, the tempting taste cannot be erased from my memory. I want to eat. I really want to eat. Whirlpool Naruto stared blankly at the Lamian noodles stand. Even though his stomach had already played a small drum, he still didn't move his feet in the end. He is accustomed to being expelled, excluded, and deceived, but he cannot adapt to the kindness of others. Especially this kind of indistinguishable goodwill. Just as Naruto was about to leave, his gaze caught a glimpse of the stranger's movements. He pushed the first bowl of Lamian noodles to the far left 2 or 3 places away from it. Is this leaving a safe space for oneself? Xiao Jiuwei hesitated. Gentle bone soup slowly flows into the stomach through the esophagus, making it an unparalleled match in this warm and chilly season. In that moment, Huang wanted to sell all the military rations and pills he had stored at home at a low price. The taste between the two is like heaven and earth. However, such thoughts only lasted for a short while. The function of military grain pills is not comparable to that of ordinary food. In addition to satiety, they can also restore a certain amount of chakra. Delicious food like Yao Lamian noodles, just taste it once. I often think it will affect my training. And shortly after the opening of Arakawa and Izumi, the chair on the far left of the table suddenly moved. The standard seat seemed to be a bit difficult for the visitor, and he struggled a bit to climb up. Then, he couldn't wait for the sound of his face trembling and coughing due to his speed being too fast. The screen freezes at this point. 3 boys and girls of the same age quietly ate their own bowl of Lamian noodles without any communication. Quiet and peaceful. During this period, other diners also came, but when they saw the only remaining spot and wolfed down Jiuwei, they cursed ominously and turned around to leave. However, this time, Vortex Naruto did not fight back as hard as the cat did. Just after a pause, he continued to pick up the Lamian noodles in the bowl. Just boss, why is this soup a bit salty here? Yu reading www.uyukanshu.net. After putting down his chopsticks, Huang took out a banknote with a face value of 10,000 yuan from his pocket. On weekdays, Uncle Ba Dai gives money, but he only uses it to buy military rations and pills, so the accumulated balance is still quite large. Little brother, do you still have any broken money? The old man who took the banknote looked stunned. He knows Yuzhi is very rich, but he just eats lammy and noodles. Don't just start with 10,000 yuan notes. This is the rhythm of emptying his change. No need to look. When we come back in the future, just deduct it from inside. The wild man who stood up deliberately added to our vocabulary, and the emotional intelligence of hitting uncle with his hand is sure to be understood. For Xiao Jiawei, there is only so much he can do. No matter how much contact is made, the hidden darkness on the street corner may be unbearable. I understand. Nodding lightly, Yuzhi has his own commercial street, so he rarely comes here to eat noodles. The remaining noodle money is naturally reserved for Naruto. Thank you for your patronage. Without greeting Xiao Jiawei, Huang Yuchuan lifted the curtain of the noodle stall and walked towards the direction of the tribe. But just then, hello, name, your name. Little Naruto, who wolfed down food, had already stood up at some point, with soup stains remaining at the corners of his mouth and red eyes. Upon hearing the sound, Yuzhi Bohuang stopped and remained expressionless as before. Shouldn't you first give your name when asking someone else's name? Xiao Jiawei was stunned for a moment before regaining consciousness. He lifted his sleeve and wiped his eyes hard before responding loudly. My name is Naruto. Naruto Vortex. Chapter 8. I am the wilderness of Uchiha. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Added at the beginning. The author is going crazy. If there are any further discussions like this, please reply here, Crab. Why kill the weasel? It's simple. He was the executor of the Night of Extermination, and his presence led to the cowardly Fuyue, like a Bodhidharma, remaining motionless and failing to fulfill his duties as a clan leader. Can killing a weasel get rid of the extermination? Unknown. However, if Kiba wants to clear up Uchiha, then he needs to consider the two kaleidoscopes of Jishui and Fuyue. The biggest reason why Fuyue remained motionless during the extermination night is still because he targeted his proudest son. At the same time, the kaleidoscope can control the 9 tails. If Kiba wants to go to war, he will have to face a group of Sharingan, 2 pairs of kaleidoscopes, 1 head and 9 tails. Can Sandai and Tuanzang bear such a price? Will we continue to seal it with ghosts and corpses, help from Dai Tuesday? Do you think Sandai and Tuanzang should know that there is also a presence of Dai Tuesday? Will they first consider destroying Yuzhi or killing Dai Tuesday? No need for cleverness. This author doesn't know how to write, nor does he have a label for IQ online. Let others handle the matter of fighting wits and bravery with F4, and I don't think the walkers can easily break their wrists with them. Overly extreme and brainless. The protagonist is a reincarnation, knowing the ending of Uchiha. Fuyue reluctantly retreats, and then what? Or is he expelled to the edge? Jishui is so fond of peace, or is he not trusted by Tanzang? When fighting with Itachi. Firstly, the 11-year-old Itachi on the timeline has already entered the dark side, and he has been on the battlefield and killed people since he was 4 years old, adhering to the concept of the ninja world. Secondly, the protagonist is a reincarnation, 3 years younger than Itachi, adhering to modern concepts and having no practical combat experience on the battlefield. The protagonist licks Yuzhi. This is the funniest part, please. If I want to lick Yuzhi, why not just take the path of being friendly to Fuyue and Itachi? Standing on Yuzhi's side is a matter of stance, okay? There are people in this family who are good to the protagonist, so please see the setting of the protagonist's past and present lives. That's all for now. I'm sorry to disturb the reading experience of new book enthusiasts. This book is not about weasels boasting and not washing white weasels. It is established that weasels are dead, and those who like weasels may be disappointed. By the way, it's not a brainless and refreshing article, sorry, Crab, written on 8.15, 17.13, Trigger Summoning Mission, Elegant Man, Demon Fox, Monster Description. A man wearing a fox mask, holding a folding fan, elegant and knowledgeable of many anecdotes, quite talkative. However, the face under the mask is rarely seen by anyone, and perhaps all the people and demons who have seen it have already no longer exists. Level: Horror Nightmare Spiritual Material. Blood of Naruto Vortex, Intermediate Summoning Spell *1. The monsters who excel in the Slave Wind are quite compatible with the Fire Escape Ninjutsu. Watching the newly emerged summoning mission, my desolate heart twitched slightly. Apart from the unique blood inheritance limit of the Sharingan, Fire Escape is also considered a landmark ability of Uchiha. Although Huang is not as easy to use as other clans, there is still no problem in using the C-level Fire Escape, Fireball, and Phoenix Immortal Fire spells. And the wind can aid in the fire. The combination of the two can definitely increase the power of ninjutsu by 1 degree. Alright, let you go back. Glancing at the absent-minded boy behind him, Quan quietly stopped his pace. She originally intended to take this clan brother to relax and see the hustle and bustle of the main urban area of Muba, so as to relieve her from almost crazy training for a while. But after encountering the little one named Naruto, Huang's mood clearly became more relaxed. Although he followed him, his gaze did not stop at the nearby stalls. Sorry, Sister Quan. Awakened, Yuzhi Bohuang looked at the helpless girl in front of him and felt a hint of apology in his heart. As a person of 2 generations, how could he not perceive each other's concerns? The Night of Annihilation was like the 5-finger mountain, which weighed heavily on him. Day and night, he pondered how to quickly improve his strength and have the power to protect those around him. Even detaching from the leaves of wood. Anthracene. The girl shook her cheeks and pretended not to care, half threatening to forcefully pull the other person here. Moreover, she also received a gift, so she should be happy. I know that the relationship between the clan and the village is not very good now, and I also know that Uncle Ba Dai has poured a lot of expectations into you. However, when encountering difficult problems, you can also talk to your sister. Yuzhi Bohuang pretended to speak casually. Although she didn't expect this little guy in front of her who looked like Itachi Jun to really reveal her inner problems to herself. Eyes. I want to know how Quan Jie's Sharingan evolved. However, this time the wilderness was no longer concealed, and the girl's eyes were lowered as she asked in a low voice. The 2 initiators of the Night of Extermination. Daitu and Itachi, are both powerful beings that open the kaleidoscope, with divine power, heavenly light, and lunar reading. These top-level pupil techniques undoubtedly crush the ordinary Sharingan. In the situation where Fuyue gave up resistance and did not act, there was no one within the tribe who could stop their unilateral killing. In recent years, Huang has been wanting to improve his writing skills. If he could also open a kaleidoscope, all problems would be easily solved. One-on-one, with the help of monsters, he has confidence that he will not lose to anyone. However, it seems that Huang has no special talent in terms of pupil technique and fire escape. After opening his eyes for 5 years, he can only feel an increase in pupil strength. My eyes. Yuzhi Bohuang murmured his youth's problems, and his bright cheeks also felt a slight dullness. This issue has touched upon the unspeakable private secrets of the girl. Huang also noticed the anomaly at the first moment and immediately wanted to skip the topic, but Quan Jie's plain voice had already fallen into her ear. The change occurred on my father's anniversary. Looking at Quan Jie, who was quietly desolate, Yuzhi Bohuang's heart also contracted slightly. I heard that in order to write about the evolution of chakra eyes, one needs to understand love and lose what they love. Now he truly understands, but cannot empathize with it. Quan Jie, let's stroll around for a while longer. I want to eat 3 colored meatballs now. On this day of famine, I gave up my daily cultivation plan and accompanied Sister Quan aimlessly strolling around the village of Muyin until the sky turned dim before heading towards the direction of my tribe. Who? In the fierce drinking room, a pair of crimson eyes, even in the dimly lit room, were ferocious, and the 3 black jade lines horizontally above them were emitting invisible oppression. Right will eyes. The signature ability of the Uchiha clan. It's me, Uncle Ba Dai. The wilderness slowly emerged from outside the door, and the condensed momentum also dissipated in this statement. The secret technique, mirror water stopping, can conceal one's own body to a certain extent and give the enemy it faces the most genuine sense of oppression. However, when facing situations where one's strength is significantly stronger than oneself, or when having perception-based health inheritance limits such as Sharingan and white eyes, the effect will decrease. Seeing the visitor, the pupils of Uchiha's 8th generation couldn't help but shrink. Although he had already guessed the identity of the newcomer through his shallow chakra breath, the shock in his heart was still more than just a roar when the other person truly appeared in his sight. The little guy in front of me has become stronger along the way of body movements. If it weren't for being at a close distance, even he wouldn't have been able to perceive it. It should be noted that the 8th generation of Uchiha has participated in the 3 wars as an elderly person. Even though they are no longer at their peak, their vigilance has not dropped at all, especially in the current situation of attempting to launch a coup within their clan. Have you ever been in contact with Jiuwei with Quan? After a brief examination, he slowly spoke up. This is also the main reason why the 8th generation ordered people to notify the famine. In the afternoon, a letter was sent by the Ministry of Darkness to the Kiba Police Department. Yu reading www.yuyukeangshu.net is from Hokage 3. The letter stated that Arakawa and Izumi had come into contact with the 9-tailed Renjuli, and also tactfully expressed the hope that the Fuyue clan leader could restrain his own clan members and not want similar situations to occur again. It was this letter that ignited the anger of Uchiha, who was already dissatisfied with the village. Even if the clan territory is redrawn and exiled to the edge of the village, even if the clan members are under the supervision of the dark all day long, even if they are fulfilling their duties and maintaining the safety of the village. But those towering old guys still refuse to trust them until now. Looking back at history, this village is surnamed Xinsho and Yuzhibo. Yes, I met him by chance. I heard he was also an orphan. The answer given by Huang is simple and without any justification. Don't come into contact with him again in the future. Yuzhi Bohuang, the 8th generation, said. This is a requirement for the 3 generations' purpose. After a brief pause, he further supplemented. Although the senior members of the clan were very angry when they saw the letter, clamoring that instead of being constantly monitored, excluded, and suspected, it would be better to overturn all of this. Let Uchihas will reappear in Kiba. But after all, this is an action that moves the whole body, and the most important thing is that the clan leader Yuzhi Bohuang still cannot make up his mind. He is still hesitating. I even want to pin my hope on the weasel who enters the darkness. What do you think of this matter? This is the first time that the 8th generation inquired about the village's decisions related to the wilderness. Perhaps it is believed that the latter has already graduated from ninja school and has a certain level of recognition ability. I am the wilderness of Uchiha. However, Huang did not answer the question. Chapter 9. Inviting War. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The voice of the wilderness was not loud, nor did it have a determined and indignant tone. It was so quiet and natural to speak. But this simple sentence left Uchiha 8th generation speechless for a long time. The wilderness of Uchiha. He just wanted to borrow the 9 tails incident to test the attitude of the young man in front of him towards the village, but he never expected to get such an answer. An answer that even a weasel never gave. Go back and rest early, you can report to the police department tomorrow. Shaoqing, the 8th generation, only left behind such a sentence. There were waves surging in his heart, but there was no special expression on his face. The Kiba Police Department is a security organization established by the 2nd generation Hokage Kazuma, and all members come from the Uchiha clan. To enter, it not only requires strong individual strength, but more importantly, loyalty to the clan. It is indeed a bit early to let an 8-year-old who is worthy of graduation enter, and there is no precedent to convince others. But this can also be seen from the side that the 8th generation really values the wilderness and trains it as a follow-up high-level talent for Uchiha. Just before coming, Huang had his own ideas. Uncle Badai, I want to enter the dark department. This is the first time that Yuzhi Bohuang has directly refused the arrangements of the clan elders in front of him. In the past, he has always been quiet and obedient. The dark side. Upon hearing this answer, the voice of Uchiha's 8th generation suddenly rose a little, and a strange gleam flickered in his pupils. He really didn't expect that the little guy who had just brought him comfort would now be here to scare him. The Dark Department, also established during the 2nd generation period, was a special department directly under the Hokage, responsible for many secret operations such as reconnaissance and assassination. Those who can enter either possess special talents or have strong individual strength. What did Itachi say to you? After suppressing the restlessness in his heart, Yuzhi's 8th generation said coldly. Currently, only Shizumi and Itachi have joined the dark side within the clan, while the former has just emerged victorious from the confrontation with the Mist Shadow Ninja and has no chance of encountering the wilderness. As for the latter. Thinking of that guy, there was an invisible anger burning in Badai's heart. Just a few months into the dark side, he began to become more independent and even absent from gatherings within his clan. If it weren't for the constant maintenance of the Fuyue clan chief, he would really want to recall it. Now, Huang has also become interested in the dark, most likely because Itachi secretly transmitted something. No. Uncle Badai once said, Itachi is no longer suitable to stay in the dark. And I will be more suitable than him. Yuzhi Bohuang calmly faced the gaze of the clan elders. He can perceive the other person's restlessness and fully understand their emotions. Yuzhibo will fall into the current situation, partly because the clan leader is not decisive enough and his wrist is not strong enough, the other half is the increasingly excessive small movements of the upper level of the wooden leaves. And the dark side belongs directly to Hokage, which is the private army of Hokage. Joining bluntly may lead to misunderstandings. However, Huang didn't care. If he could join in, it would mean he had seized the opportunity to approach Itachi, 2 advisors, and even Jitsu and Tuanzang. Both Jishui and Itachi want to resolve conflicts within their tribe and change the will of their people. But he started from the village and wanted to directly eliminate the source of danger. Prioritizing learning the ability of a slippery ghost is for this move. A faint killing intent poured down from the young man. This killing intent made the 8th generation of Uchiha, who had participated in the 3 wars, feel a slight palpitations. At this moment, he finally understood the thoughts of the young man in front of him. That line about the wildness of Uchiha is the best interpretation of this matter. It's not that easy to enter the dark side. Even if you can, don't treat those high-level officials as fools. They have been in charge of Konoha until now, and their hidden methods are unknown. Bo Feng Shui men, Chimu Shoamao, who are not the strong ones who suppressed a period of time. But ultimately, they still don't live as long as those 4 old guys. Moreover, the dark side doesn't always stay in Mai. The 8th generation of Uchiha did not completely spread out his words, but just these messages were enough to alert Huang, as he had thought things too simply. In theory, entering the dark side is indeed close to the high-level of Kiba, but a single command can make him lurk in other forces and never come back. If we really reach that point, we will be at a loss and have no choice. Compared to their own careful thinking, those old foxes are bound to see clearer and farther. However, although the plan was rejected, it did not make Huang too disappointed. Since assassination is not possible, let's solve it from the front. Uncle Badai, everyone in the clan says I am the second weasel. I'm not willing, I want to have a competition with him. The young man looked at the tribal elder in front of him with bright eyes, his words firm, and his hidden meaning very clear. No matter what method he used, he would push this matter forward. This is B that he has been thinking about all afternoon. The kaleidoscope doesn't need to be imagined by oneself, it can't be opened, and I don't want to open it either. So on the night of extermination, it is impossible to fight against Dai-2 and Itachi with one's own strength. So, the only breakthrough point is now. Before Itachi and Dai-2 can unite, and before the white-eyed wolf can open the kaleidoscope, take this opportunity to compete and kill them. In this way, there will be no further incidents happening. The blood of the weasel will surely awaken the hesitant leader of the Fuyue tribe. You're not his opponent yet, there's no need for competitions like Yu Konshu. Net. The 8th generation of Uchiha refused very decisively. Although the current situation is good, it can crush young people of the same generation, and it is even said that the senior, Zhu Lu Dai, was beaten up today. But this is far from enough. Itachi went to the battlefield at the age of 4, graduated from ninja school at the age of 7, passed the ninja exam as the first at the age of 10, and went through countless practical battles, big and small, after joining the Dark Department. Such a resume is not comparable to that of a genius who has just graduated from ninja school. Even if you have a dual-blooded heir to the limit, it won't work. Sangoyu's Sharingan has absolute suppression over Shangoyu, and this is a competition without any suspense. And he is afraid that after encountering failure, he will leave unbreakable shackles in his heart. Please, Uncle Ba Dai. I don't want to live after someone else's name. Yuzhi Bohuang bowed to request with sincere words. He was well aware that if he went to deliver the war book on his own, Itachi would never pay attention to him. The only power that can be relied upon now is the dissatisfaction of the clan elders. Disappointment with the weasel, apply pressure forcefully. Let me give it a try. In the end, as he gazed at the young man in his field of vision, Uchiha Ba Dai still softened his heart. He grew up watching the wilderness. Having a body full of fire escape ninjutsu and a sword in hand is also derived from oneself, and such a master-disciple relationship is not weak. Just like how Fuyue would protect Itachi, the 8th generation at this moment only wants to fulfill one wish of their disciple. However, these 8 generations have not been able to see through the true thoughts of the wilderness. The wilderness is hidden too deep. I have also become aware of the possible consequences. Chapter 10, First Episode After First Meeting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The night falls low. Huang walked alone on the streets of his ancestral land, surrounded by bright lights and the air filled with the fragrance of rice. Have you been training until now? We should pay attention to the balance of work and rest, wilderness. You haven't eaten yet, haven't you? Come to my aunt's house to take a bite. Take a look at you, it would be great if you could have someone who works half as hard. Kind calls occasionally come from my ears. 5 years of daily warmth. Okay, I will pay attention. No, Sister Quan said she will wait for me. Jing is still young, she will be sensible. Huang responded one by one, with a faint smile on his cheeks. He has been able to grow up healthy to this day, and it can be said that he is inseparable from every household in the tribe. After all, teaching ninjutsu to the 8th generation elders is acceptable, but taking care of children is difficult. Hurry up. I'm starving to death. Standing in front of the door, Yuzhi Bohuang waved and called out from afar. The wooden leaf guard tied to his forehead had been removed, but the simple 4-leaf clover hairpin was still pinned to his long hair. She seems to have been waiting for a long time. Okay. After giving a response, Huang immediately took a step and started running, with the lights belonging to the Uchiha clan behind him, which he wanted to protect. Itachi wants to destroy. That must be stepping on his body first. After dinner, I helped Aunt Yiyu tidy up the dishes and return to her small home. The residence provided to him by the clan is right next to Quan Jie's house, which is a single-room small flat with complete living utensils and a small courtyard, which is just right. After locking the doors and windows, Huang began to tidy up the items he had purchased in the afternoon. The 3-colored small balls wrapped in sugar paper showed signs of melting, but overall, the problem was not significant. The red apples exude a unique fragrance, while the palm-sized watermelons are suspected of ripening early. In addition, there was also a light and bumpy gift bag placed on the table. As the gaze scanned, Huang hesitated for a moment, as if considering whether to place it together here. However, it was ultimately left behind. The demon who protects me appears in front of me. Your name is Snow Girl. Pack up your belongings, sing softly in the wilderness, and the 100 Ghosts map located in the Sea of Consciousness immediately unfolds. As the surrounding air suddenly cooled down, a silver-haired girl quietly appeared in the room. Looking at each other, still speechless. For 3 years, Huang was unable to bring herself closer to Snow Girl, and on weekdays, she only used ghost entanglement to forcibly borrow her strength. This is also the main reason why he has not summoned the new style god for a long time, not knowing how to fight and get along with monsters. Perhaps, once one's own strength becomes stronger, this problem can be solved. On the table are candies from the human world. If there is anything else that interests you, please let me know and I will try my best to prepare. Stubborn for a moment, it was still the wilderness that broke the silence, but what was obtained was still silence. In my memory, the monster girl in front of me seemed to have only said, "human," to her when she descended, and there was no further communication afterwards. Huang has also become accustomed to this. Then he stood up and repositioned himself, sitting at the foot of the wall slightly away from Snow Girl. Meditation is a daily compulsory course and the most direct and simple way to obtain skill point fragments. However, prior to this task panel, he silently muttered to himself in his heart. In the evening, during the communication with Uncle Ba Dai, new tasks appeared. Instant tasks. Breaking through constraints, task description. Whether it's a ninja, warrior, or yin-yang master, only in adversity can one unleash their potential and break free from the shackles that bind them. Achieving condition. Defeat Uchiha Itachi. Task reward. Advanced contract spell *1, random skill *3 task status. Incomplete remaining time. 9 days and 20 hours. A very exciting reward. Advanced contract charm, which means there is a possibility of signing a monster that is even more powerful than Snow Maiden. Ice escape blood inheritance limit can shock the entire family. If there is another spiritual monster, can it have the possibility to fight against the kaleidoscope? And random skills are undoubtedly the strongest support for improving one's own strength at this stage. You should know that it took Huang 5 years to learn 3 skills from the yin-yang record. And the abilities included in it all come from powerful yin-yang masters or peerless monsters, but there are no useless skills. Thinking of this, his mood began to become somewhat unstable, and his tongue instinctively licked his dry lips. However, Huang also knows that such high returns mean high difficulty and high risk, and such task rewards seem to be telling him that his winning rate is out of 10. After suppressing this restlessness for a while, his gaze shifted downwards from the task reward. Stage task. Swordsmanship mastery, task description. Learn the swordsmanship of the 100 schools and achieve the strongest blade. Achieving condition. Master swordsmanship from 2 different schools. Task reward. Random swordsmanship *1 task status. Uzi Wave Flow swordsmanship, mastered. Hueduan ninjutsu and Shurian were supposed to be the signature abilities of Uchiha, but Huang did not master them very well. The former is due to its mediocre compatibility with the fire attribute chakra, while the latter is due to his inability to deeply appreciate the sadness of losing his love, resulting in his riding wheel eyes lingering on a jade hook. However, being lost in the east corner and reaping the benefits, being abandoned in swordsmanship has a good talent. Abandoned by his clan at the end of his cultivation, Uchiha Ryu's swordsmanship was like a treasure, training daily without interruption. The powerful swordsmanship of Sword Leaping Flame, Wind Sword, and Sun Halo Dance were mastered early on. Yu reading www.yuyukeangshu.net. At present, the only one within the clan who can guide him in swordsmanship is probably Jishui. So when the 8th generation of Uchiha proposed what he wanted as a graduation gift, after a moment of contemplation, Kusanagi chose the technique of Miyelyu swordsmanship. The eerie 3-day and moon dance, combined with the body movements of the slippery ghost, will inevitably increase the likelihood of successful assassination. Although Lord Ba Dai has already rejected his previous assassination plan, Huang has not completely abandoned it. As one of the established goals, Jitsuan Tuanzang enjoys and is also best at assassination and framing. So, whether choosing to assassinate or guard against the root, one must be stronger than the other party. For the gift of the wild choice, Uchiha 8th generation feels a bit inadequate. After all, for Uchiha, who has the ability to right will eyes, the flashy wooden leaf flow sword technique is full of flaws. Because no ninjutsu, can deceive their eyes. But he eventually nodded in agreement, knowing that his disciple liked swordsmanship. This also triggered the task of this stage by chance. What is this? Just as I was examining a new task, a cold voice suddenly sounded inside the house. The sudden sound made him suddenly alert. He has long been accustomed to being quiet. However, Huang immediately thought of something, and his heart beat faster. Looking through the sound, a demon girl from the snowy region was holding a snowflake-shaped object in her hand, her eyes full of confusion. This is a hair clip, used to tie hair. Huang tried to suppress his jumping mood and responded calmly.